This is a Brunch Pre-Oscars mini podcast that contains spoilers, but we can't imagine you care if you haven't seen the movie and you're afraid of spoilers. There's no way you would logically seek out a podcast about the movie. Let us begin.
Licorice Pizza.
The quite humble Licorice Pizza coming in with 3 Oscar nominations: Best Picture, Best Director, where Paul Thomas Anderson has the longest odds, and a slight favorite to win Best Original Screenplay. This was one of the first movies we saw of this batch. This is the final one of these that we're recording. This, for me, is, despite being not a favorite to win, I think 6th best betting odds, this is one of the 2 pure elite movies of this group.
Yeah, I mean, it feels weird because like I got caught up on most of the movies late, but this was one of the only movies that I had seen as it was released, and after I saw it, I was like, okay, this is definitely going to be in the running for Best Picture because this was a delightful movie.
Yeah. Where do you? I know that you're a big Drive My Car guy, but so if I'm like Coda and Licorice Pizza are at the top, are you like Drive My Car and Licorice Pizza are at the top, or?
It's in the top 3. Like I would say Drive My Car is my number 1, and then Coda and Licorice Pizza are like a 2A, 2B situation.
Okay, so this, I mean, maybe it's because the favorite movie in this group, Power of the Dog, is so boring that like this movie feels like such a breath of fresh air compared to some of the other ones. And obviously, it's much, much, much lighter subject matter. Although, the TikTok kids weren't happy with... There's obviously, like, inappropriate things in
There's
this
uncomfortable
movie.
subject matter.
Right, but the tone and, like, the pace and everything of the movie...
And that's almost what makes it
banging
uncomfortable.
soundtrack makes it... It's not in black and white as Belfast is. People aren't killing each other.
But that's almost what makes it more uncomfortable is that like it's so light.
Yeah.
But like it is a delightful movie. It is the pace of it is great. The mix of like drama and humor is unbelievable. Like it's just a very, very enjoyable watch.
I have to look to double check. But as I look through the other Best Picture nominees, this is by far the funniest,
absolutely,
of them.
Yeah.
And its only real competition probably
Don't Look Up. But I think this is way funnier than Don't Look Up.
Right. It's way smarter. It gets laughs in like really stupid places, and it gets laughs from without saying anything, like nonverbal things, like the shots. And this, I guess, also goes into cinematography where it's not nominated, but there's so many just like shots of either Danielle Haim or the little brother of Gary in this movie where like one of them will be doing something will be going on, and they'll just like train the camera. Right. The scene where Danielle pokes her head up is amazing, but they'll just like train the camera on their faces, and they're just like looking around like what's going on. And I mean, not to like rank the Haim sister acting performances, Danielle is obviously given the fewest lines and perhaps
lightest
like
load.
the lightest lifting for sure, but like everything counts. They like Paul Thomas Anderson makes everything count in this movie. The scene where Alana goes in and is talking with like the casting agent, or I don't know who it is, but there's so many like close-ups on that woman's face when she answers the phone and just keeps saying no and laughing. Like, I don't know, it's just fucking classic Paul Thomas Anderson. There's so many good things about this movie. The music's amazing. Alana Haim, awesome fucking performance. Snub there, but like a kind of an unexpected or an expected snub.
Yeah. Would you say that this movie has the most rewatchability of any in the category?
Yes. The ones that I would rewatch,
like Coda for sure.
Yeah, Coda. Honestly,
I would rewatch West Side Story.
Yep. Nightmare Alley I'd toss on again, even though it's long.
Nightmare Alley is is long, and I think that it loses a little bit of luster once you kind of like see your way through the mystery part of it. And yeah, I just don't know how much desire there's going to be for me to go back and revisit that. I mean, 0 for Power of the Dog. I'll never watch that movie again.
I'm so glad to say that.
Yeah,
Don't Look Up does have rewatchability. I think. I've watched it 3 times.
I liked it less the second time that I watched it. So I think that this is probably the most rewatchable movie that of the year.
Interesting. I mean, do you think though that this is, with 3 nominations and with no Alana Haim nomination, we'll talk about Bradley Cooper in a second. Do you think that this movie, despite being nominated for Best Picture, is like being done a disservice?
Like underappreciated by the Academy?
It has the same betting odds for Best Picture as Don't Look Up. So
yeah, I would say that it's kind of getting disrespected a little bit. Like for me, it's in the top 3. And
yeah.
But there is a big group of people that didn't like this movie for some reason.
An initial reaction that I got from someone smart I trust said that they're like, it was a really fun movie, but like things have to happen in movies. And I was like, well, I disagree. But things happen in this movie.
Things happen in this movie. It tells like a story. It goes from point A to point B. And like, I would say more happens in this movie than happens in Power of the Dog. And that's the betting favorite.
Yeah. I mean, so
there are so many acts of this movie where shit happens, and like it's honestly like maybe a little bit overwhelming that so much shit happens and you kind of go from act to act to act.
Right.
And it kind of feels like a bunch of vignettes in a way.
For example, you could have, seriously, this would make it a worse movie, but you could have cut out the whole Alana acting, Sean Penn, Tom Waits thing. You could cut that out of the movie and probably save like, I don't know, like
20 minutes,
30 minutes, something like that. I wouldn't want to, but like, and but that's like a big, that like things fucking happen there.
And you don't get to that part of the movie and you're like, oh fuck, I got to make it through this.
Right. Oh, I mean, that is just the character that Tom Waits was born to play.
Yeah.
Just guy with the hat, cigar,
fake directing a movie,
yelling. Right. Yeah. Action. Sean Penn, incredible in that scene. Some amazing shots of like Alana over Sean Penn's shoulder. The scene where Gary's at the table with his friends.
Direct sightlines.
Yeah, yes. He requests direct sightlines at the tail of the cock.
There's so many like very small lines that are funny.
Oh, yeah.
That like if a worse person had written this movie or directed this movie would not nearly hit.
Yeah.
But Paul Thomas Anderson fucking like is so good at that shit.
Fuck off, Danielle. You're making calls about pinball machines. I'm a politician. There's a lot. But again, even like a lot of things that aren't said. It's fucking stupid, and maybe it's because like maybe this is like Our Ladybird, but the when they get the gas and the fucking stupid kids are like.
Oh, yes,
sucking off the gas can.
I mean, the entire sequence.
It's like, oh, God, growing up.
The entire sequence from when Bradley Cooper's character is introduced to when Bradley character's character disappears is just edge of your seat, so fucking stressful, but so fucking funny at the same time.
So let's talk about that, because when we saw it, I think we both agreed, you more so than me, thought like, why would we seriously talk about Bradley Cooper for Best Supporting Actor? He's not in it enough. And the more we've talked about this, the more both of us watch this, the more we're like, he absolutely should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah, probably. I mean, like, he's not in it very much, but you look at what he contributed, and he was so fucking good. His character is just cocaine in human form. And if you're gonna nominate Judi Dench for Belfast,
right,
she was barely in that movie, barely contributed very much, and Bradley Cooper had a greater impact on this movie than Judi Dench did for Belfast.
Definitely more so than Kieran Hines did in Belfast. Or Kieran Hines is important in Belfast, but I think that Bradley Cooper gives a better performance. Definitely more deserving of J.K. Simmons in Being the Ricardos. Honestly, the more I think about Being the Ricardos, I don't think that anybody should have been nominated for that movie. But Bradley Cooper's first scene in this is like a top 3 scene for the entire year. And
Yeah, it's great.
If I haven't gone and sorted through them all, but I wouldn't be surprised if I was like, yeah, that was like the best scene
Also,
of this year.
I think you know this, but fun fact, it is the first scene that was filmed for the movie because it's like Bradley Cooper, this established actor who's supposed to be intimidating these kids, and Cooper Hoffman and Alana Haim famously
Not actors, yeah.
acting debut in this movie, so they pinned them up against each other in that scene just to ramp up the intimidation factor, and it fucking worked because that scene was amazing.
I don't know too much about John Peters other than the Barbra Streisand album cover where they're both standing there, but I googled John Peters a few minutes ago, and there's a headline on Insider that is, Bradley Cooper's Licorice Pizza character is based on a real-life Hollywood producer who started out as a hairdresser, was married to Pamela Anderson for 12 days, and fought Steven Seagal.
Okay. Let's make a movie about that guy. Like, let's do a spin-off about Bradley Cooper playing that guy and just follow him around all the time.
It's quite Tarantino-esque.
Yes.
Maybe that would offend
Yes.
Paul Thomas Anderson, because maybe a lot of people do things like this, but just like making a fiction movie and then just like sprinkling in a real person.
Yes.
Be like, and then they run into John Peters and he's fun. You know how John Peters was. He's all coked up, going crazy.
It is very, very Tarantino-esque.
Yeah.
100%.
All of his scenes, though, are just fucking owning people. I hadn't seen it until we were just watching it again. I hadn't noticed that when he gets to the gas station and he throws the gas can at the guy, that it knocks the guy over.
Yes, it's so good.
It's like, I mean, I was going to say it's like bowling, and maybe that Paul Thomas Anderson just has a type.
True. True.
But he just like walks up, throws it at the guy. I think he calls him like homie or hombre or something.
Something.
He's just like channeling all sorts of different things. But yeah, his first scene though with Cooper Hoffman, where he says, among other things, "I'm gonna kill you and your whole family. Your life is on the line here." He's like, you better hope you don't meet her. I mean, you think I'm bad.
The truck scene is like one of the best scenes of the year. So stressful. I remember being in the theater being like very uncomfortable.
I wanted out.
Yeah. Very uncomfortable with how stressful that was.
And done by one Alana Haim.
Yeah, you told me that she performed her own stunt. She Tom Cruised it.
Incredible.
What a talent.
Yeah, I mean, this also, on the subject of Alana Haim, we talked about her work anyway, like every episode, but this had some like 500 Days of Summer, in that like 500 Days of Summer did a lot of like, hey, just in case you forgot, look how beautiful Zooey Deschanel is. Yeah. This was like very big, and West Side Story did this with Ansel Elgort, where it was just like, look, while you're here watching the movie, look at this face.
I know. The only difference is that Alana Haim was good in this movie. Listen, Ansel Elgort was not good in West Side Story.
Couldn't
Stand
tell.
by that.
He's too busy looking at his face.
The Haim family absolutely murdered it in this movie.
Yeah,
the entire family is in the movie, and we have to talk about our guy. You know his name, but I don't.
Haim.
No, the kid who comes for dinner.
Oh yeah. What's his character in this is Lance, but his name is I think Jizz is in his last name.
Okay, cool.
Because I think that like the Lights Camera podcast guys call him like the Jizz Man or something.
Okay. That guy rules.
I want to say it's like Skylar Gisondo.
Okay.
He's
awesome. He's so funny in everything.
Everyone has great first scenes in this. Like the first scene between those two is obviously
on the plane.
I was gonna say like between Cooper and Alana are great, or Gary and Alana is great at the school. But the Lance's first scene when he walks back there and does the like,
oh good, they have Salisbury steak back here too. Nice.
Right, just classic douchebag. The scene with him and Modi Haim is outstanding. One of the best lines of the movie is, "Listen, young lady, you don't bring this idiot to Shabbat dinner."
I liked, what does your penis look like?
Yes.
What?
Regular.
A regular penis?
A lot of questions about, a lot of like
Inquiring about body parts.
Yeah, and like specifics. John Peters asks Gary. He was like, he's saying that he's running late because they were late now, and he goes, I'm sorry, we didn't have gas. And he goes, it's an excuse. I want to shove up your fucking penis hole.
Yeah.
And he's like, how big's your penis hole?
He's like, I think he says, does he say normal sized?
Yeah, he's like normal size, I think. And he goes, how would you know? Imagine how much that you think about how that would feel if I shoved that excuse up your penis hole. But yeah, it's a shame he's only in a few scenes. Skylar,
The Jizz Man.
Gisondo, 25 years old. I would have guessed. I would have guessed older, but
I mean, he's been crushing it for a little bit. He was really good in Booksmart.
that's right. He's in Booksmart. People know him from the Righteous Gemstones.
Righteous Gemstones, yeah.
But I mean, all the performances are good. And I want to say this: if you're upset that, as I am, that Red Rocket didn't get nominated, this is like the Sean Bakery-est movie of them. In that, I mean, it stars people who previously had not acted, yet got amazing performances out of them.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very, very good movie that I don't think stands any chance of winning, but it will definitely go down as like one of my favorites of the year.
Do you think Esty gets? No, when I say like gets acting work, like could you see Esty Haim acting in things from here on out?
Yes,
I do too.
Because I think that she's interesting enough of a person and like is very good at like facial expressions and like physical humor that she could absolutely do it.
Alana obviously is like the first 20 points anybody could have off of this movie. But if somebody else were playing, if Emma Roberts were playing Alana and Esty Haim were still in this movie, people would come away from it being like, yo, Esty Haim should be in movies, right?
I'm curious to see how much work both of them do beyond this. Because this almost felt like a favor to Paul Thomas Anderson,
right, or just like doing something with your family because like they are also tight.
Yeah.
I also wonder that, like, will she do non Paul Thomas Anderson things?
And will like, especially if it takes away from like music stuff, because they're music through and through.
Yeah.
So I wonder how willing they'll be to do anything outside of Paul Thomas Anderson and like anything that takes away from possibly music.
I'll tell you what, it could be a very doable lifestyle if they don't tour and they just kind of do what the Beatles did, where like the Beatles were like, we're not going to tour, we're just going to make albums nonstop. They could tour less, make albums at their regular pace, and replace touring with being in movies. Obviously, they are like musicians.
I can't root for that. I would see them on tour.
Yeah, I would assume like it would not bring them joy to have that kind of lifestyle. But I don't know if you were like an Adam Levine type and is like, and we're like, how can I make my star as bright as it could possibly be? That they could have very long careers doing that. But for now, they're batting 1,000. This movie rules. It's probably my favorite, like the most enjoyable of all of them, and either 1 or 1A for the year.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know. I still think that Drive My Car, I think, is the best and my favorite. But this is, I would say, like the most enjoyable.
How can Drive My Car be your favorite if it doesn't even have the best car driver in it?
Ooh.
That's Licorice Pizza, bro. You got a new favorite.